Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7.
Islam, 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 Moorish America want to rise upon the 7 within the unbroken circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, Al-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our Holy Prophet brought to make us a nation. You know, we want to welcome you to a grand drawing that we want to bring on the manifest to our Moorish kin. It's been a minute since I've been live on my channel, you know, as far as dealing with certain topics, so to speak. And I actually have one I want to bring forth to our family in reference to dealing with the subject title that you see on the screen. You know, and actually I have a measure I want to demonstrate here. I want to take this ticker off of here that I have. Because that's actually an older ticker, and I want to go into the essence of the Prophet Muhammad, you know, Saba-Kushite, Sabi'un, Hunafa, you know, and the al-Bayt of Sibghatullah. And I have spoken on many different times in reference to dealing with this. I have a few addresses that I would like to make. I was supposed to have a debate a while back, you know, with a brother from Africa, brother Sekou, you know, but it never became anything, so to speak. And this was actually in reference to being a measure that I would have been dealing with on the ancestry of Prophet Muhammad Ibn Abdullah. You know, was he African or not? And so this show will be dedicated to that. Moreover, really dealing with the historical Muhammad as opposed to the Muhammad that has been presented in the Hadith we can say with truth and falsehood strangely mixed. And you already know that I'm one that not per se go into, trying to condemn everybody that deal with hadith, but I honor the Quran itself over the hadith. And except those hadith that I consider hadithi Qudsi, holy hadith, that are basically saying the same thing that the Quran already says. The measure that I will be going into will be to prove the historicity of Muhammad outside of the hadith per se, but I also will be using certain measures that kind of crept into the hadith to deal with some of these points, that actually point out reference to Muhammad. And it won't be many, it'll just be certain measures that we know that snuck into the hadith itself. But I want to show you the ethnicity of the people that we today refer to as Arabs. Because most people think that, when you see anything that deal with the Arabs, that the Arabs are referring to what you look at today when you see that pale-skinned Arab. But we know there were ancient inhabitants of the land that we now call Arabia. And Arabia is really, Arab even is really a name that was given, but it really don't represent the true people at all. Even though a lot of our people use that terminology. There were ancient inhabitants in that land, and I've touched on this before, but I'm going to go into it a little deeper. And you will see me utilize maybe some of the things that you may have been familiar with, not so much so in this demonstration, but certain little nuggets or whatever that we have given, just because none of this stuff have been debunked. Nobody has ever been able to debunk what I'm saying. I want to do something real quick before I go deep into this. I actually want to share this link to my page. So give me 1 second here. So I'm back. I'm just opening up this page at the moment, and I'm going to share this link twice. I ain't gonna do too much, because if I do too much, they'll act like I'm flooding the system. They done messed up so much with this computer stuff to where you can't even post your stuff without them trying to say you spamming. So I'm gonna just post this one time. Let's see here. And then I will post it again in my other area, just to let the people know that I'm live. Showing the live link there. It's saying it's live, but it's not showing the live link. I don't know. Maybe they'll pick it up in a little bit. So share it to my other page, or at least to one of the groups that I deal with, and we'll see how everything go. If not, worst case scenario, I could actually go into it a little later once I get off here. So peace and love to the family that's checked in as well. This is gonna be a grand drawing right here. I got some information that's gonna shock some of our family. Because I have found a controversial picture depicting Prophet Muhammad with a dark hue. And it has created somewhat of an uproar as well. We know that most of the time, when you see a depiction of any picture of Muhammad or even Ali, Abu Talib, who married his daughter Fatima, and had to seize Hassan and Hussein, all of them together with Muhammad were known as the Pashtun Pak, the 5 purified ones, his al-Bayt, so to speak. But when I showed this particular picture, it caused a lot of conflict, and I'm going to show you why. And this is what I was trying to explain on a recent show that I was dealing with on our brother Sarnetta's channel. To share my screen after I get this picture up that I have here. I have a few of them up here, so what I do, I just hit one and then I can go through the other ones. Share my screen real quick. I got a new apparatus, so y'all should be able to see a lot of this. For those of you who are looking to benefit from this information, trust me, this is going to be powerful. So let me hit this link here real quick. Okay, so we got the whole screen share. So I'm going to go to this picture here. I was telling our family, if you notice right here, this is a depiction of Muhammad. Notice he has a brighter complexion here, but you can see that his face is not being shown. It's pretty much blotted out by what's supposed to be like light. This is Ali right here, which is the same measure. His face is blotted out. Then I have one more picture right here. Uh-oh, I went too far past it. This one here, which is another depiction, again, of either Ali or Muhammad here. And we can see the face is blotted out. And this is the way that you will mostly see the pictures being depicted, because they say it is forbidden or prohibited for one to produce a picture of Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah. And this is how I always seen him. I had never seen an actual picture of Muhammad. So I'm going to go back into my sharing again, and we're going to get into my presentation. So let me share this here. Let's see. Let me make sure. Okay, yeah, y'all can see it. I'm just making sure y'all see it. Okay, so you see this is entitled Prophet Muhammad, the Saba-Kushite, the Sabi'un Hunafa, of the al-Bayt of Sibghatullah, right? Now, for those who may not know, Saba-Kushite is in reference to the name of the people of Saba, who was said to be the seed of Cush in the Piscean records of the Bible, as well as in the Quran. There's a whole surah dedicated to the people of Saba, sometimes referred to with an H in front of the A, the first A, which is Shaba, which is also where they get the name Queen Shaba from. Bilqis, so to speak, all she known, she is the one that was said to be a consort or wife of Solomon, and they were said to give birth to Menelik and so forth and so on, which is one that you will hear a lot of the Rastafaris referring to. So when you hear the term Saba, Kushite, you are really referring to people who also became known as your Abyssinians, or even, the people of Sudan, or even, a name that they use, Ethiops, which becomes Ethiopia, and so forth and so on. They use these names, they're dealing with the time period that you came through. So I'm saying this so that you don't get confused. You see, and who these people truly are. So when they talk about the tents of Kedar, black is the tents of Kedar, everything should make sense. But when I go into the essence of this drawing, you're going to have a clear conception anyway. The portion dealing with Sabi'un Hunafa has to do with what are people that were referred to as the Sabians, who are also mentioned in the Piscean records and the Quran. There's a lot of controversy surrounding who the Sabians are. The Sabi'un Hunafa represent the actual caravan, so to speak, of seekers of truth that Muhammad himself used to travel with. So he was known as Hunafa. Hunafa is said to be the original path of Ibrahim. The word Sabi'un or Sabians, dealing with that lineage, you can see the tie because those who Ibrahim was said to be affiliated with, the of Chaldea, or the Chaldeans, they have Cushite roots, as well as the Arabs. And the Arabs, we know, are descendants of the Egyptian too by blood, because Hajar was Egyptian, and Abraham, basically coming from the line of Chaldea, had some Cushite blood. So Ishmael, the seed, would basically have Cushite blood from the father and the mother, if we were really to tie everything in, because we know the Cushites were the ones who really started building in ancient Kemet. You will find some of the people among the Sabians, or the Sabi'un, who actually trace themselves back. They would say Tahuti is one of their ancestors, or one that some people refer to as Thot, and the Greeks later referred to as Hermes. But Tahuti is said to be one that they inherited their particular teaching from, and he was said to actually be a prophet that moved through Babylon, as well as in Kemet, and also one that was in Atlantis at, different periods of time. But that's a whole nother measure for a whole different subject matter. I'm just giving you some background so you have knowledge on what type of teachings came through this line, and why it is so mystic, and also literal at the same time, when it comes to the teachings and the inheritance of the wisdom, the knowledge, the understanding, Ansaritic priesthood of the Moors, basically, that you hear me talking about lately. And so it's the Prophet Muhammad, the Saba-Kushite, Sabi'un Hunafa, and al-Bayt of the Sibghatullah. So, because we're going to touch on some of his family and who they were, as we already have to a certain extent. His immediate family we touched on, but we're going to go further into it. This is going to be a grand draw. I showed this to our family a while back, and this has been very popular when it comes to the information when I talk about these ancient Cushites. And this is to give you some background, but it's going to get deeper. You finna have a bunch of new information presented to you, but it's necessary that I start here first. That way we don't have no people with misunderstanding, and they understand when we talk about, who the ancient Cushites of Arabia was, and then what Arabia is now. You don't have no conflict. So this states the ancient Cushites of prehistoric Arabia. Arabia was the original Ethiopia, or land of Cush. Countries on the Upper Nile were called Ethiopia because they were at first colonies or dependent provinces of an ancient Arabia. So even the people that were known as Ethiopians, they used the name Ethiopia for ancient Arabia. At a later period, when the ancient and long continued sway of the Ethiopians of Arabia declined and gave way to the rise of great monarchies in Western Asia and India, the Kushite regions of Asia received new masters and took on new names. Now you understand, when different people came in, the names changed. And that's what I was speaking of earlier as well. Arabia itself was reconstructed by new forms of political organization. And finally, the later Greeks and Romans introduced the custom of confining the name Ethiopia to certain African countries on the Nile and above Egypt. And this is where the name Ethiopia took on the definition Prophet Noble Drew Ali gave it, something divided, because they began to divide the land into provinces, the Romans and the Greeks. So it says in the Hebrew scriptures, Arabia is formally described as Cush, or the land of Cush. In our English Bible, as the translation of the 70, this term is usually rendered Ethiopia. In the 8th chapter of Esther, were the 127 provinces of the Persian Empire. It says, basically, it goes in the C. Smith's dictionary. And I really was stopping at that period, but it's getting ready to go on. This is another portion here that speaks on Omer, who was a historian, that you hear a lot about. It describes the Ethiopians as divided, just like Prophet Noble Ali said, Ethiopia means something divided, dwelling at the ends of the earth toward the setting and the rising of the sun. And it's actually talking about the Axumite kingdom and the Oxumite kingdom. One that's in West Africa and one that's in East Africa. Strabo favors the following explanation of Eporus. The Ethiopians were considered as occupying all south coast of both Asia and Africa, and as divided by the Red Sea, anciently called the Arabian Gulf, into the eastern, western, Asiatic part itself, and African. That's what I was just referring to. It is added that this is an ancient opinion of the Greeks. This is undoubtedly true as far as it goes. Arabia was the original Ethiopia, and its name was applied to all its colonies and affiliated communities, whether established at the west by the people called Phoenicians or at the east from the southern and eastern shores of the peninsula. Okay, so we have another measure here, and this actually depicts, the ancient Kushite relics of prehistoric Arabia. And I showed our family this. You have them with the locks. You can see these features don't look nothing like the modern air, and we can blow it all the way up so you can look at it. That's our nose, that nose and the thick lips and, the eyes with the locks coming up out of there, the earlobe. You can see the nappy beard. So, this is, an ancient depiction of what the people of Arabia look like. And that image is going to come up again too, a few slides later. It states that the two races in Arabia, listen to this. At the present time, Arabia is inhabited, and this is dealing with the author of the book, so this is more modern. Even though it's old information, it still gives, who the two inhabitants were. It say at the present time, Arabia is inhabited by two distinct races, namely the descendants of the old Adite, Kushite, or Ethiopian race, known under various appellations and dwelling chiefly at the south, the east, and in the central parts of the country, but formerly supreme throughout the whole peninsula, and the Semitic Arabians, Muhammad's race, found chiefly in the Hejaz at the north, in some districts of the country. And it says these races are more or less, and it says it appears to have been understood also that the earliest civilization appeared in Arabia. It says this was manifestly the belief of most ancient Hebrew writers who describe its first inhabitants, and that had civilized a life as the Kushites. Now, these were Hebrews that were writing this stuff too. Now, they the ones, was keeping the tally of the information. It says they recognized no country as older than Kush or Ethiopia, and was intimately associated with the old Eastern traditions and recollections recorded in their scriptures. So, these Ad people, which mean Furs or old Adite or Kushite or Ethiopians, and then you have Muhammad, and there's a mixture, with some of the people of Muhammad, but Muhammad himself was said to be of pure Arab stock, and it talks here about the 6 sons of Cush having 6 sons, whose allotments were to follow. The first is Saba. Now you see where the Saba come from, being a seed of Cush, the founder of the Sabi'uns. He's supposed to be the founder of the Sabi'un, Sabi'un Hunafa. You see? So there's another name that is given to these ones, but we'll go into that later. Havilah, who peopled the land of Havilah on the frontiers of the Amalekites. Havilah is a place mentioned in the Garden of Eden as well. It says, who with his brothers Ramah and Sateka is supposed to have resided in Arabia Felix, because they called that the Middle East Arabia Felix at one time. The former of these had two male children, Sheba and Dedan. See, that's the Sheba name. Sheba was the progenitor of the West Ethiopians to whom he left his name. You know, hate it or love it, you know, this name Sheba, you know, is also tied to a name that later became known in the NOI, Shabazz, you know, which is also a piece of my last name, so to speak, Shahid Shabazz El. You know, there's a lot of history in that. I got videos I've done on it, but no need to go into that here. I'm just mentioning it for those who don't know. It states the Hindus suppose that the African Negroes were the first inhabitants of the Dwepa, or what they call the country of Kushite. So there were Kushites that went into India, you know, in the Indus Kushite Valley civilization as well. It says this Kushite Dwepa, without ascribe to them, comprises Abyssinia and Ethiopia. And Abyssinia, on authority of Bruce, still acknowledges the queen of Sheba, who came to Solomon as their sovereign. Nimrod, the remaining Cushite, and the mighty hunter is singled out and spoken of alone in the sacred narrative. The beginning, which implies progress of his kingdom, recited in the Pentateuch. The only other reference to him is by the prophet Micah, who mentions the land of Nimrod. So Nimrod was said to be a Cushite biblically as well. If you notice this symbol here, this crescent cradle in the sun, this is a Sabi'un inscription. And you can see up here too some of the inscriptions of Sabi'un. We're going to get into that in a second. Here's another Sabi'un relic. You see they have the same symbol. They inherited from Hajar, so to speak, you know, the cow and the crescent cradle in the sun again. You'll see these things. So now that we have this covered and you know who the ancient Cushites is and gave an idea of what they look like, this right here is going to remove all doubt. Part itself. So this is a depiction that was found not long ago, brought forth by the Mormons. And there's an inscription on this demonstration here. And I'm going to show you something. We got the script right beside it. You see this circle with the line coming down? Let's find that. That's right here. That circle with the line coming down. Right there. This symbol right here. We're going to do some deciphering right now. See the Y? So that's the letter Y. Write that down. Or you can just put it on your neck, on your head. So we have this other symbol with a line on top of a unfinished square, we'll call it that, which is this symbol here. You see the line, and that's it right there. So that's Y, or we can say I. See, Y, I mean S, pardon self. I'm sorry about that. Y-I for the first letter, and then S for the second letter. So you can say I, or you can say S. So you already got a hint on what this thing getting ready to say already before I even go this far. Somebody can already figure out what's going on. Let's go to this third level, which looks like a backward B. Okay, and here it is right here. Look like a backward B, which is the letter M. So we have Y or I, S, and we have M. Oh man, we done gave it all away. We done gave it all away. You see? Here is a dash-like symbol that will go in between that I, you know, Y, S, and M, like a dash in between it. And then we have one more letter right here at the bottom, which looks somewhat like a 7, but it's not a 7. It's actually the letter L. So it's Ishmael is what it says, Ishmael. And this is supposed to be a depiction of Ishmael here. You see, again, it's these letters here that we just pointed out. Y, see the Y? The S, see the S? The M right here, see the M? And then we have again the O, which will be like, a comma-like symbol. And then we have the letter L, which is right here. See it right there? Ishmael is what it says. So this is a depiction of Ishmael. So if one wants to know whether or not Ishmael existed outside of the biblical context, this relic, is pretty much a relic that's pointing that out. And see this here, New Book of the Mormon evidence was in Ishmael really buried them, and they went into their demonstration here, and they'll tell you that what is called the Ishmael Stela. So Ishmael, we have established the ancestor of the Arabs as being pretty much real. You see? And see how I told y'all we translated that? See the little dash in between the last L? Ishmael. We just did our own translation of it. Even though they didn't do it here, I was able to go into it and show that to you. So this PDF, if anybody wanted after I'm done, you just let me know, or you email me at egyptianadept@gmail.com, and I'll get it back to you, because that's how I do a lot of my stuff. I like to have links where you can click and go straight to the information. So we see, and I could have got more of these. This became the style of the ancient, Arabians of the South, or what they call the Sabi'uns, from whence Muhammad descended. These are symbols. This right here can actually be, deciphered as well. I didn't do it. I didn't try to decipher it, but it can be done. But I'm just really pointing out the fact that this is another image with a different face. And this looked like the way that they preserved, the faces of certain ancestors, and they would put their name into it. You can see little letters even here, so to speak, in another face from the Sabians. The same way that they demonstrated Ishmael's face, but it just looks a little bit more rugged. So they refine their methodology in the way they produce these things. These two are from different areas as well. Here is a drawing here dealing with some, it's a tablet. It almost reminds me of the emerald tablets, so to speak. You see the Sphinx-like expressions up here at the top with the date palm trees, and you actually see these letters over here. So I could use this to decipher this if I really wanted to. And what we can see here, for example, if you look at this here, you would see this first letter would be R, Resh. And you see the Arabic, the modern Arabic grows out of this script. This South Arabian script is related to it. So Resh or Reh, that's the letter R. And then if we were going here, this is R or Y. That's the letter Y. Again, we already went through that. This one's real close right here, but it looks like a D. R-Y-D, Rid. And this is, we just had that a few minutes ago. That's the letter M. Redemil. That is what that would say, and then we have W here, and it's looking like this is separating the words to me, instead of it even being just, look like this is constant separation of words. Or it could be the W, because it is showing this is a W. But, nevertheless, you can use this alphabet script to decipher this if you wanted to. I was just showing you, just like we did. It's the same script. See, this is old South Arabian script, which is Musnad. You see, sometime in the Islamic history, they talk about the Musnad, which is here. And they pretty much, the letters relate to each one of these letters in the Sabian script. So this is the Sabaic script, and then the modern Arabic script, which is Musnad, that you see now. And this is actually Sultan M. Said font. So here's another measure coming out from the Sabians, dealing with the same script. See the same symbol with the crescent and the sun coming up, the inverted crescent. You can use the script or the alphabet to decipher that. But look at this sister. She got her some locks in her head. We can see her features on here. We see her brother here. He got some pretty bold features too. But she's a thick one, so to speak. You know, big body woman, as they would call her. So we already know, and we can look at the features there. They definitely don't look like no Arab in the modern time that we done seen. But anyway, this is a brother. You know, this is a Kushite, a Sabi'un, you know, what we would call a ancient Arab here. Yeah, look different, just like one of us, if you ask me, if you look at the features there, what we can see of it. You see the script down there at the bottom. You know, that's the Sabi'un script again. Here, I wanted our people to notice this. You know, how they compare the Phoenician and Ge'ez, because Ge'ez is very close to this South Arabian script, or what they call Ethiopic. You can see the letters, you know, that actually remain the same. They just changed a little bit in the Ge'ez and in South Arabian. And this is why the Ethiopian people, the Ge'ez that you see, or the Ge'ez, as some people say, this is a proof. Then you have another South Arabian script, same thing, but they just writing it a little different. South Arabian cursive. This is the written script. This is carved script. They got a carved script, written script, and a cursive script. And the cursive script look a little different, you know, but this is actually a part of some of the Arabic alphabets as well, which later became, you know, your Musnad. See, they have the Somali as well, letters, matching them up. And then they have Arabic here. So we can see the Cushitic connection, or the Ethiopic connection, you know, so it should be obvious at this point. Here's another drawing. And you can see those faces. You see how they had the faces with the Ishmael? They got a bunch of faces here, and you see the same script here being carved in stone. And we're going to click on the article, and it takes us to the article, Old Weird Arabia, South Arabian inscription. This is the Cushitic or Sabian script here. This is South Arabia's pre-Islamic rulers. And that's who that was. See, it says in the early 11th century CE, the North African scholar Abu Bakr al-Maliki visited the ruins of Carthage. So those are Carthaginian ruins up there. While there, al-Maliki saw an ancient inscription written on its walls. According to him, it read, "I am Abdullah, son of Arasi, envoy of God's messenger, Salih, who sent me to this city to call them to God." Al-Maliki's observation is peculiar, as he mentions the inscription was written in Himyaritic, because they also call it Sabi'un or Himyaritic, referring to the ancient kingdom that ruled Yemen before Islam. Did a South Arabian inscription really end up in Carthage? It's a lot of that script in Carthage. You know, around 1100 BCE, the communities of South Arabia, what is now as Yemen, southwestern Saudi Arabia, western Oman, who spoke a group of Semitic languages we now call ancient South Arabian, began to write inscriptions. To do this, they adopted the so-called Semitic script, which originating in the Levant found its way to the south of Arabia through trade routes. Although the South Semitic and Arabic scripts share distant ancestors because of divergent developments, those able to read one could not decipher the other. You know, so yeah, there's a lot here to be read, you know, but they do go into, remember I was telling y'all about the Quranic chapter, Saba. It's mentioned it right here, dealing with, you know, how Solomon dealt with the jinns here, the queen of Sheba and Bilqis, you know, so tell you how Solomon was being given authority over the jinn. It's talking about, you know, the Ad people here that we talked about earlier. You know, it talks here in the inscription, you know, of come warning trope found its way into other Muslim scholars, historians as well. Historian al-Tabari, which is one the Arabs love to talk about him. 923 recounts the raid of South Arabian king in North Africa. Arriving at the edge of the desert, he sent some men across it to explore. When they did not return, Al-Tabari mentions a chilling inscription left by the king. This is the statue of Yashir Anam, the Himyarite. There is no passage behind it. Whoever ignores this shall certainly perish. So in other words, we know what happened to the ones going over there. So there you go, dealing with the script. So we have connected the script most definitely. Here's another depiction here. We can see the same script up top here. If we look close, we can see the brethren here would look like a little girl. The faces definitely look more closer to our people here too. You see them on the camel. Look at that right there. Definitely our people. Don't look like them old pale-skinned Arabs you see now. And there's also a link to this one. We got to establish all of.
He is the son of Ibrahim and an African woman, or Abraham if you like, and an African woman named Hagar, sister, a black woman from Egypt. And they are regarded, certainly Ishmael is regarded, as the traditional ancestors of the Arabs. They laid the basis, he and his father Ibrahim, or Abraham.
I think that's showing to y'all. Hold up. So I'm going to stop and reshare. And I want to say I do not own the rights to this particular measure. And body. Let's see. Just want to put a disclaimer up here so they don't strike my video. Yeah, so I'm going to put that down there in the banner. Just give me a second here. And this is actually a measure from our brother Hunafa, by the way. So let me put this in the banners. And once I put this in the banners, trying to get it. They usually cite it in here. That's it right there. Let's see. Okay, so we'll do it like this right here. We'll just copy this in there instead in the links. And let me get this out of here. Create this banner here. I meant to do that earlier. That's one of the things I was trying to do. Okay, so we got the banner in here. It's from the scroll. Okay, show it. There it is. Okay, so now we're going to share it for y'all. And this is a video dealing with our brother Hunafa. I'm going to just share entire screen. Okay, share the system audio. Okay, there we go. So we back at it, family. Here it is.
Abraham, he is the son of Ibrahim and an African woman, or Abraham if you like, and an African woman named Hagar, sister, a black woman from Egypt. And they are regarded, certainly Ishmael is regarded, as the traditional ancestors of the Arabs. They laid the basis, he and his father Ibrahim, or Abraham, considered a prophet in Islam, laid the basis for the Kaaba sanctuary at Mecca.
So we know our brother Hunafa is a trusted scholar, but that's an image that he found of Ishmael, that he was actually trying to bring forth to our people. So that's another attestation. He didn't have the name as I just had in the translation, But, he's saying that's Ishmael, the son of, Hajar and Ibrahim. So again, that's 2 up. The other one is good that I gave y'all the first time because it has the actual translation, so that's good enough for me. But we're gonna keep moving forward with this information. So let me go back over here to this video and hit back so I can get back to my PDF. So yeah, we wanted to show that to you. Now this is another image. In this image right here, you definitely can see the features of our people in this image. And this is the Wadi Rum demonstration. He also looked like he might have had a headdress on. Like the headdress the prophet be wearing, the long one. The shmogs, as they call them, some people, that the Saudis like to wear. But this is a ruin. He looked like James Earl Ray, the guy that played Eddie Murphy's father on Coming to America to me. So this is showing in the desert of Arabia, in the Jordanian region. That's where I got this measure from. This is close to the Petra area too, where you have a lot of areas where they have rock art. See the petroglyphs here, with the little camels on them. And you can see some of the script that's wrote here, the Nabatean script and all of that type of stuff you can find in these areas, because all of that pretty much has a connection to the Arab. And there it is, the face carving on the rock, same one. That's where I got the image from. So that's an image. But if that image right there don't let you see the features right there as close as that is, then I don't know what will. So all of these different pictures, looking way more than familiar to me. I don't know about nobody else. Here's one of the scholars, the record keeper, Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, depicted on a gold dinar. I can't make this stuff up. See, when you hit the link, and Abdul ibn Malik Marwan, I'm going to show you who this is so that you have knowledge of that as well. This is one is well known. This is one of the, and see how they try to depict him here. He don't look like that, like he looked on that actual dinar. He was the 5th Umayyad Caliph, ruling from 985 to 705 CE, from the time of Muhammad. Known for his military conquests and administrative reforms and the construction of the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. And it says that, he was born either July or August 644. They got stuff popping up all over the place. Stop it. Okay. So anyway, it tell you basically he was part of the main people up under the caliphate. So you can go do your research and your history on him. But the main thing, everybody changing the narrative, gonna always present things the way they want to present them. So this is how he really looked according to this dinar. Look at that big old nose right there. I blowed it up so you can see it bigger. You know what I mean? Look at that big nose, them big lips. You know what I mean? I don't know about nobody else, but that don't look like nothing Arab in the way that we think Arab in this era in time. All these images have images that reflect our features, family. Can't nobody deny that. Again, we're going back to the top for the ones that didn't see it. Starting with this image, which is an image. This one right here can't be denied. You can't deny them locks. This Ishmael is a little sketch, but big old nose right there with the eyes and lips. Even though it's drawn in a blocky way. Like I said though, and looking at the sister here, she looked just like somebody I know. I don't know about y'all. I know somebody look just like her. The brother here, all of this, is in Arabia. Look at that stuff in Carthage again. So they took this stuff here. Remember I showed you this one here. All these images right here. Look at that face. Like, come on, man. We can't make this stuff up. Got the little tight fro right here. The brother, that look like a family is what that is. You know, this is the same picture down at the bottom here. I got a blowed up version right here. So yeah, these are your Arabs as they look. You know, like I say, you can't, come on, man. That do not look like they actually done chiseled away at the brother nose too. Somebody done knocked somebody and they took the lips, tried to take them down. Like they did the Sphinx. But yeah, all these are pictures of, you know, basically what the Arabs would look like. And this is really the same picture that y'all seen earlier, the actual wall, you know, and these are the same Arabs here being depicted. Here's another one where they actually getting shot down, where they riding the camel right here. One riding backwards and the other riding that. While he riding, he shoot. So they were getting down back then, wasn't it? Here's another measure here. That same one. I don't know if he getting ready to fall off because he done got shot. I see this cat with this arrow right here getting at him, the Assyrians. This is a war between the Assyrians and those Kushite Arabs right there. Yeah, they were getting in. They looked like they were throwing martial arts at each other right there. Throwing some karate or something. But they was getting it in. Yep. Camel done went down. So yeah, so these are your Arabs being depicted. Here's a close-up of what that camel rider looked like, the one that was on the bike. Come on, man. Look at them, look at that big nose, look at them lips, look at them locks. Huh? We can't make this stuff up. That's a close-up of the Arab camel rider. So these are the modern Sabi'uns and what they look like now. Sister there. See? South Arabia, Semitic language, linked in to Arabic and Ethiopian. This language was mostly replaced by Arabic with the advent of Islam. We can see the style of them locks in a Kemetic. This is a Kemetic relic. But look at it. So you can see they definitely picked up certain things from their ancestors. Here is a modern depiction of the Sabians. Look at them features now. Got them naps up there. You know, ain't nobody got no naps in their head like that there other than our people. You see, but you see that the Sabians, you know, basically making, we wouldn't even call it Salat. This is proto-Salat. You know, before, and the Assyrians actually allowed them to pray. But see them there making niyat on their knees, bowing down. They showing you all the positions of Salat right there. So this is where Muhammad learned this stuff from, the ancient Kushites, the Sabi'un. That's why I mentioned in Surah 2. We're going to mention it right here. Let's go there. Quran.com. Like, we're going to prove everything we say. Y'all already know I'm going to bring that, the archives anyway, so I don't even have to tell y'all that. Let's see. I'm trying to search the surahs right now. Okay, let's see if it let me navigate. There they go. Surah 2. Let's see, Ayat 138. Y'all know the first surahs in the Quran got the longest surahs in them, right? Let's see if I remember right. It should be 138. Okay, come on, 121. Okay, yeah. Notice right here, yeah, this is leading up into it. Say, O believers, we believe in Allah, what has been revealed to us and what has been revealed to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, Jacob, and his descendants, and what was given to Moses, Jesus, and other prophets from their Lord. We make no distinction between any of them, and to Allah we submit. That's why Muslims, we don't be beefing with nobody about what they have, because we know that we supposed to honor what came through the prophets. Okay, here it is right here. This is actually dealing with the way of Allah's worship. Sorry about that right there. This is, the baptism of Allah. I'm so used to quoting that thing. Let's see. We'll do it this way right here. So it's actually you'll have my yeah, that's 262. So let me go back up here. 262. That's my bad for that quote. Let's see here. Come on. Get out of there. Okay. There it is, what I was looking for. This is a very important measure here. Ila aladina, the Wadina, what that is, Hudan. See, this is Judah. It's saying Hudu, but this is Judah. Judah. That's really the word. Huda is the word for Judah. And this is Wa al-Nasiran. This is the Nazarites. Matter of fact, let me do this here.
Hadu
Nasara. See, the word for Christian is actually Nasara because it refers to the Nazarites, a Nazarene. That's the real name, even biblically. And this is Sabi'un. Sabi'un.
Sabi'ina.
This is Sabians. So it says, indeed, the believers, Jews, Christians, and Sabians, whoever truly believes in Allah in the last day and does good will have their reward with their Lord. And there will be no fear for them, nor will they grieve. It's why I don't beef with the people who claim they are, of the Judah, tribe, or, the Nazarite, or the people want to call themselves Christian. That's what they call themselves. Allah say all of them gonna have their reward as long as they believe in Allah. Now the Quran was sent to correct the worship, and then it say Sabians. So this talking about the Cushites of Arabia. You see, this would be what counts for the true Muslim. Notice it didn't say Muslims here. It mentioned these three. And this is actually us, our ancestors, family. That's why you hear me say we take on the school of thought of the Sabians, hence the word Sibghatullah. And that's actually what I had went to earlier when I thought I was going to this. It was talking about Sibghatullah. I'm so used to quoting it, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Sibghatullah is the actual teaching of the Sabians. And that's what it's called, immersing yourself into the attributes of Allah. Here it is right here. See, it says here, actually it says Sabi'un. And they use color or religion, right?
Sibghata.
Right. Allahi.
Allahi.
Wa min.
Waman.
This is Ahsanu.
Ahsanu.
Mina.
Allahi. Sibghatan.
Right? And so, yeah. Wa minu.
Wa nahnu.
Allah.
Lahu.
This is Abidu.
Abidun.
Let's deal with worship. So, see right here, your Sabigat. This is the natural way of Allah, Sibghatullah. You see? That's why you'll hear me say that, Sibghatullah.
Sibghata Allahi.
See? This is Allah's natural way. Like we may say Malati Ibrahim, the way of Ibrahim, for example, or the deen of Allah. This is the deen of Allah, the natural way of Allah, the the way of the Sibghatullah. You know, that's why I say this is our school of thought, taking on the attributes of Allah. That's what they mean when they say take on the color or the natural way of Allah. That's what they're saying. It's not a literal color. It's talking about the characteristics of the attributes of Allah. So this is what we strive to do in the Moorish way of life. You know, we want to be love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are attributes of Allah, Sibghatullah, the path of the Sabi'uns. You see how the Sabi'un. So Muhammad moved with the Sabi'un Hunafa. So he, again, received not only the teachings of the ancient Kushites, but we're going to prove to you that Muhammad came from the bloodline, you know, of the ancestors as well. Make no mistake about it, family. We ain't making this stuff up. So you see here the different modes of worship. This is very important here. Now that we are here, this is the controversial photo of Muhammad. You see his name, Muhammad Allah. You see Rasulullah here at the bottom. And this is Muhammad basically symbolically riding through the heavens on his Baruch, as what they call it. But, you know, I always call it a Sphinx, because that's what it is, their version of the Sphinx. And when he went on his night journey, this is the vision that he had, that he was riding this particular steed, and it took him through the seven heavens when the angel Jibril guided him. Really, which we call this a 7-degree initiation for Muhammad, him going through them 7 heavens. But this is the first time I ever seen Muhammad's face being depicted. Remember, I showed y'all earlier, in these pictures, they normally have them covered up, you know, with light, like him and Ali now. But, you know, I found this one, and this is actually a depiction of Muhammad. Of course, they ain't going to have no actual Polaroid, because pictures wasn't producible like we have them now in that time. So you'll see mostly pictures of stuff in stone. But this is a depiction of Muhammad, and he looking way more familiar. See how brown his skin is? Look at his hands, you know, yeah, and his feet. They're all brown. You know, he don't look like the Hadiths describe it. This is a picture that someone has depicted of Ali, you know, and he has his scimitar, and you see this would be Muhammad's daughter, Fatima, and these are the 2 seeds, Hassan and Hussein. And all of them together with Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, and the 2, they are called the Pajtin Pak, the 5 purified ones. Let me show you this right here real quick. Yeah, you know, pick that. This is the symbol of the Pajtin Pak. And that actually says Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Allah, and this is Hassan and Hussein. Right there. See, they represent that, and we got a symbol with the 5-pointed star coming through this, you know, and that's symbolically being expressed there, you know, the Pajtin Pak. You know, we can't make this stuff up, family. They got various different expressions of the pictures here as well. That's the same thing right there, the black flag. Again, Muhammad, Allah, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein right here. You know, the Pajtin Pak. You know, again, they are referred to as the 5 purified ones. And it's a whole philosophy that deal with the breakdown on the Pajtin Pak as well. You know, see how they got the scimitar right here? That's why we put the scimitar above the star. The al-Bayt, or the family, you know, dealing with Muhammad's family actually is similar to our flag. See? The term Pajtin Pak, the pure 5, refers to Prophet Muhammad, Sayyida, Fatima, his daughter, Imam Ali, Imam Hassan, and Imam Hussein. I named my twins as they, you know, one of their names, Hassan and Hussein. And one of my sons actually passed the name Hassan down to my grandson. You know what I mean? And my ex-consort, I gave her the name Fatima. I didn't take the name Muhammad. But yeah, these 5, this is the al-Bayt, or the family of the Prophet. So when you go into this right here, And see this brother here saying Muhammad was white. And that's why we doing this video right here. Don't P9 or 4Y. Because we proving that Muhammad ain't white. And we showing you the difference between the Muhammad of the Hadith and the historical Muhammad. We ain't through yet. You see? So I'm showing you a picture that has been depicted that depicts Muhammad in a dark hue. And this ain't the only way he was mentioned in this way. We got some extra proof outside of this. But think like this. If everything that we done showed you already from the Cushites, and Muhammad was a pure Cushite, and he come from these ones, you know, this automatically lets you know what Muhammad looked like. Even the modern day ones, that's this 1400 years later, look at this sister. She still has a dark hint, you know, of her hue, and the seed do. Imagine 1400 years ago. And this is older than that. So we proven to you in this picture, somebody depicted Muhammad as he was a Cushite. And Ali and Muhammad's daughter, again, being depicted here. And his grandsons. So like, I mean, come on. So now, let me show you something. This is a name here. Because they asked about the name of Muhammad. And Muhammad, the historical Muhammad, is found under the name Kazim. That T sound like a S. Qasim. You ever heard somebody have the name Qasim? Qasim was one of the names of Prophet Muhammad's son when he died. Qasim is also the name of one of Prophet Muhammad's father's son. Qasim. You know, sometimes they spell it with an E. You know, but it's a Z sound. That's how it sounds. Qasim. And so they would call Muhammad this to mock him. And this is said to be Muhammad's real name. This is key to finding this Muhammad, you know, in the historicity, you know, because Muhammad in history is described different than the Muhammad in the Hadith. In the Hadith, they tell you anybody that say Muhammad, well, not even Muhammad. Even anybody that say Muhammad was black, you should kill him. You see what I'm saying? So that's racism in the Hadiths. You know, they the ones that got people confused, and they the ones that tried to suppress what the real Muhammad looked like. And you, brother, are running with that narrative. I'm showing you what has been hidden. The historical Muhammad, brother, was of dark hue. And you ain't seen nothing yet. But they refer to him as Qasim. Qasim. And sometimes they spell this Qasim. 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 See, it says Qasim. Al-Mutalib named him Qasim. That was Muhammad's name. You know, his mother, Amina, you know, informed that she was showed in a dream that his name is to be Muhammad. And that's how his name became Muhammad. You see? But, you know, Abu Talib named him Qasim. This is very important. Why is it important that you know this? Because it's a lot of argument. You got a lot of Arabs trying to deny this. You know, and then they go here. Here's a breakdown on Ibn Jawzi. This is actually one of the Muslims, the Moorish brother. And he gave an expanded list of the prophets' names and titles in his Taliq Fuhum al-Attar of Baghdadanian. You know, and this is Abd al-Rahman al-Jawzi again. You see, we'll show you who this brother is, by the way. You know, a lot of people, they got different depictions on him too. The Arabs try to whitewash their stuff, brother, just like the European did. You know, that's all it really boiled down to. You know, at the end of the day, you see, you look at these different images, and they actually have, it's Rahman, what his name right there. But they have pictures of this brother depicted with dark hue as well. But he was from Morocco, this particular brother. I'm trying to find the original picture. They tried to depict him there. But nevertheless, this is the one who kept the history. Because the main thing, we talking about Muhammad right now. Let me see here. Okay. So let's look at some of the names that Muhammad was given. Abu Hussein Bifaris al-Lagawi, this is 395 to 1004, recounted the Prophet had 23 names. See, y'all didn't know this. One of the names of Muhammad is the praiseworthy one. You can find this in the Hebrew. Even in the Hebrew language, you'll find the name Muhammad. You know, in the book Psalms of Solomon and a couple of more places. You know, most praised one, Ahmad, which is the name of the one that was said to come behind Jesus. The face of disbelief, Al-Mahi, which is really Mahdi. You see? The one that come to purify, the gatherer of the people, Al-Hashir. See? Last of the prophets, Al-Aqid. Now that's the title they give people, but they don't use that term in Quran. That's the term used outside of Quran. The one who follows the prophets, Al-Mukafa, Nabi al-Rahma, the prophet of mercy, prophet of penance, Nabi al-Taba, prophet of battles, Nabi al-Malham, the witness. That's my name there, al-Shahid. You know, that's the name, one of the names of the prophet. You know, it said that he will raise up a Shahid from amongst all people in the last day. That's what Allah said. So nobody can have an excuse, a witness from every people. Bring of glad tidings, al-Mubasir. You know, the warner, al-Nadir. Laughter, al-Dalhuk. The killer, al-Qatal. The one who trusts God, al-Mutawakil. Al-Fatih, the conqueror. Trustworthy one, al-Amin. Seal of the prophets, Khatim. That's the name used. And that just means stamp of authenticity. Al-Mustafa is also one of his names. Messenger, Al-Rasul, prophet, Al-Nabi. Then it has Al-Ummi, illiterate one, and the generous one, Al-Kazim. That's Kazim. This is one of Muhammad's names, even though the Arabs trying to deny this. And the reason they're trying to deny this, because this name that he referred to, that was his name originally before he was called Muhammad, is the link to the historical Muhammad. And the historical Muhammad is described with having locks in his head, brown skin, bubble lips, big lips. Oh yeah. And black as dark as ever. That's the historical Muhammad. The Hadith Muhammad that they can't really find in the record, he's described as the white man. You get it? And Muhammad told them not to write no Hadiths. And they did it 200 years after him. He was gone. Even his al-Bayt wasn't there, 200 years later. But he didn't want them to write Hadiths. He told them to pass down. You see? They told him to pass down. Yeah, Islamists deny that name, brother. Yeah, Muhammad name is, the name Muhammad is in the Bible. I ain't finna go into that right now. I got other videos to go into. But yeah, it's in there. It's in the Bible, brother, in Hebrew language. Let me go over here real quick. I want to get through this because I got more ground to cover, so I can't get sidetracked. So here's another drawing here. He was also known as Ibn Abi Kabasha. And it tell you why they did that. They called him Qasim and also Ibn Abi Kabasha. And they tell you why they did this. It said, Khalid ibn Sa'id said, I embraced Islam before Ali, but I was afraid of Abu Uhayya, meaning his father Sa'id ibn al-As. And while Ali was not afraid of Abu Talib. When Khalid's father Sa'id became sick, Sa'id said, if Allah removes me from this sickness, it says, the God of the sun, Abi Kabsha, would not be worshipped in the core of Mecca. And his son Khalid said, Allah, oh Allah, don't remove it. So who was Abu Kabsha? Allah exalted said, and he, Allah, is the Lord of Sirius. The first person to worship Sirius, the star, was a man from the nobles of the Bani Qutza named Abu Kabsha. he started worshiping Sirius because it is the brightest star in the sky. By doing so, he opposed the Quraysh in the worship of their idols. So basically, this brother, Abu Kabsha, basically he opposed the Quraysh tribe worshiping them 300 idols that Muhammad came to destroy. And he basically was mocking them by worshiping Sirius, then worshiping them idols. So this was his act of showing them that he wasn't with the idol worship they was demonstrating. This is why it'll tell you in pre-Islamic Arabia that some Arabs that was giving adoration to the stars weren't really worshiping the star. They say they really was worshiping Allah, but they used it as a symbol. You know, that's what they say now. Consequently, his tribe, Banu Qutza, began to worship Sirius. It is said that Abu Kabsha is the maternal grandfather of the Messenger of Allah. So they called Muhammad Abu Kabsha to mock him. You see what I'm saying? But he was known by that name. And it was the habit of the Arabs when they wanted to insult someone, they would ascribe him to an obscure ancestor from his maternal side. And thus, when the prophet appeared with a religion, it says that opposed to Quraysh, they called the son of Abu Kabsha because he opposed them by calling to the worship of Allah alone without partners instead of worshiping the idols, just like Abu Kabsha had opposed the Quraysh by worshiping the Sirius instead of their idols. You see what I'm saying? So Prophet Muhammad showed the worship of oneness of God over the idols, and his ancestor did the same by going towards Sirius. And that's why they called Muhammad by the name Abu Kabsha, like you, just like your grandfather. You see what I'm saying? That's where the name Abu Kabsha come from. But this name Kabsha and Qasim is the name that connects this Muhammad that I'm describing to you to the Sabi'uns and the historical Muhammad. That's why it's important that you have this knowledge. Because I'm going to show you some videos in a second from my good brother Kalam, because he the one got all the background on a lot of this history. Let's go into some of the sources, though. From the African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality, page 151. Y'all know this is written by Sheikh Anta Diop. He said, when Muhammad was born, Arabia was a Negro colony with Mecca as its capital. The Quran refers to the army of 40,000 men sent by the king of Ethiopia to crush the Arab revolt. One corps of that army consisted of warriors and mounted on elephants. You see, we know Muhammad sent his Muslims to a Kushite, a Negus in Ethiopia. So we know Muhammad had been dealing with these people. You know, this is just showing the Kushites, and there is some history that goes into the background of these Kushites. You know, Kingdom of Kush. It actually goes into the the Meroe, you know, which is the name, another name that they were known as. Trying to find that particular area in here. The Lion Temple. It goes into these things. Yeah, this right here actually tell you around the 7th century during the time, you know, Qasar Ibrahim. It talks about, you know, the Arabs, you know, and their expansion of this time. You know, it talk about their connection to, you know, the early Coptic church down here. So if you go into a lot of this history here, talk about Sudanese, a lot of my DNA is from the Sudan, but it also say I got a little Arab in me. You know, so it says the influence of the Arabs and Nubians to Egypt and Sudan had contributed to the suppression of Nubian identity that following the collapse of the last Nubian kingdom around 1504. You know, then it says a major part of the modern Nubian population became totally Arabized, and some claim to be Arabs. You know, and it talk about the language changing, the Dunglawis and all of that right there, right here, showing you how all that come up to what you see now. You know, So there's some connection here. How the Arab armies carried Islam northwest from Africa into North Africa. You know, that's when the Moors end up coming up, you know, Tripoli. So yeah, all of this goes into the history. So like I say, if you ask for this PDF, you'll have all this. This is another book called The Book of the Glory of the Black Race. Kitab Fikir al-Sudan, Ala al-Bidan. You know, that's talking about the so-called, they use the name black for translated Sudan. Al-Bidan mean white. Abu Uthman, it says Amir ibn Bahir al-Jahiz, AD 70, 76 and 876. That's a little bit by Muhammad. But it says, in this book written more than 1,000 years ago, which we are very proud to have translated into English for the first time, al-Jahiz confirms that the great prophet Muhammad, founder of the religion known as al-Islam, was a Negro. As this fact becomes more widely known among blacks, especially in the United States, the effect will be beyond doubt profound. This work done by al-Jahiz will also serve as a great aid to proselytizing efforts of the Muslim faithful among blacks. So they done translated that Muhammad was black. Look, Abdel al-Muttalib, godfather of the prophet. Now, you know we don't use the term black as Moors, but I'm reading this information. You know what they mean here. So don't play. Father, you know, his grandfather fathered 10 lords, as black as the night and magnificent, all 10 of them. One of these black sons was Abdullah, father of Prophet Muhammad. This is actually a hadith right here. From they thing. That's why I say the hadith is truth and falsehood strain to myth. Some hadith say he was white. Some of us say he was black right here. And then the other ones say if you say he black, kill him. You see what I'm saying? That's racism on the Arabs part. But they've been trying to suppress this so long that white Muhammad they speaking of, you can't find him in history. But this dark Kushite Muhammad, you can find him in history outside of the Quran, in other sources of other people. That's what I'm getting at. And he's known under the name of Abu Kasha, the people that was mocking him, and Qasim, that name Qasim. Another was Abu Talib, father of the great Ali. It says, and of whom Jahiz states, family of Abu Talib, the most noble men, and they were black with black skin. So when you see Muhammad being depicted here, right here, and Ali being depicted here, as they being depicted, then it shouldn't shock you. Sheikh Antajiab said it. And this is Ali over here with Prophet Muhammad's daughter and Prophet Muhammad's grandson. So when you see it being depicted that way, it's the two sources that I done showed you already. One from Sheikh Antajiab and one that go back 1,000 years. Here's another one. This is the one I was telling y'all about. Anyone that say Muhammad was black. And this is actually Wesley Muhammad work right here. So you can go in here, anyone who say Muhammad is black should be killed. We want to give honor, shout out to Brother Wesley Muhammad, because he did a grand job. This is one of his papers proving that not only the Arabs was of a dark hue, but he was of the Arabs themselves was of a dark hue. He got a whole book dedicated to that. But that's his academic paper on it. So like that's another source. Here's another of what race was Muhammad. It says Muhammad, the founder of Islam, was an Arab. What is an Arab? Encyclopedia Britannica 11th edition says of Arabia's present inhabitants, Arabia has a considerable free black population. And there again, by intermarriage with whites around, have filled the land with a mulatto breed of every shade. So pure Arab, the pure stock of Arab, the pure Quraysh, unmixed, is melanated as ever. You see? But it says, till the eastern and southern provinces, especially white skin, is almost exception. In Arabia, no prejudice exists against Negro alliances. No social political line separates the African from the Arab. I beg to differ. But there's every reason to believe that the above picture has been true of Arabia for the past several thousand years. Arabia is but an extension of Africa, where black people from Southwest and the white and nearly white people from the Northwest met and mingled their culture and their blood. That's why you see the Arabs looking as they do today. Muhammad himself was, to all accounts, a Negro. Contemporary of his described him as large-mouthed and bluish color, with hair that was neither straight nor curly. That is, his hair was probably frizzy like other fuzzy-wuzzy or bluish. Also happened to mean the precise color of a certain Negroid natives in Sudan. They so dark they look blue. Muhammad's mother was also African. His grandfather, Al-Mutalib, the one say he got 10 dark sons, is spoken of as being very dark. He might have been a slave. Abed originally meant slave, because his name was Abdullah too, Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Therefore, when Birmingham says that the Negro strain seems scarcely perceptible in Muhammad, he is evidently wrong. J.A. Rogers, Sex, Race and Religion, Volume 1, page 95 through 6. Okay, we got some more content right here.
Okay.
It's coming from,
and the king.
We want to shout him out, Brother Kalam. I did a show about the Sabi'uns and my Moorish history from Titans TV. You know, if you see this, Brother Kalam, you know, shouts out to you, brother. This is the brother that got all the information dealing with this history, even though I got my own research. The brother doing a deep dive on it, you know, so shout out to him. Let me play this right here real quick. This is talking about the ancestor.
Okay. And the Kinda people, tribes, the kings there, they are also sons of the eater of bitter herbs, right? Like, it's so pivotal, okay? So we have a tradition of them calling him the son of the eater of bitter herbs. You'll find out that the individual who is bitter herbs eater is this person here, yeah? Okay? Let me just come out a little bit, okay? Yeah, is this person here, yeah? King Harif of Kinda, okay? And this man has been described, yeah, within Syrian literature as being a black man. So whenever you hear, yeah, they say like, if anybody calls Muhammad black, yeah, he should be killed. Just understand, it goes back to this hadith, okay? It goes back to that report where they were calling him the son of the eater of bitter herbs, and the eater of bitter herbs was al-Harif of Kinda. Okay, and the Kinda people, tribes, the kings there, they are also.
See, he quoted the Hadith. If you read up here, look, it talked about these people, the Kinda people. You know, it says they had combed their locks and blackened their eyes with coal, and they wore striped robes bordered with silk. And the apostle asked them if they had accepted Islam. When they said that, he had asked why this silk was around their necks. So they tore it off and threw it away. These are the Kinda people. But this historical Muhammad that is said to be a descendant of the eater of bitter herbs, you know, it actually goes into the history. And like it said he was a dark hue. And notice they use the word mudar, you know, the mudar people. This is one of the Sabi'uns as well. So let me get up out of here. Harif of Kinda is said to be an ancestor of the true historical Muhammad, and he was described as black. We can't make this up. Go look at our brother Kalam's information, because he go deep into this. He getting ready to write whole volumes of books on this stuff. So Prophet Muhammad's mother was an Abyssinian. There's enough evidence establishing a blood relation between Amina, the prophet's mother, and Baraka, who was an Abyssinian girl. Rashid H. 2005, Our African Identity. See? Ghana, Accra, Ghana. Here's another one. 18th Hijra was 18 years following the Hijra. That's the migration of the Muslims. The year Muhammad ibn Abdullah had to flee Mecca and seek refuge at the oasis of Yathrib, outside the city of Medina, his protectors being the Ethiopian army sent to his aid by Africans from whom his grandparents originated in Ethiopia. And this is our brother Dr. Ben saying this. Black man's North and East Africa. So look at this. We got Diop saying this. We got Dr. Ben saying this. You know, so a lot of these people that be claiming Diop and Dr. Ben, see, that's why I was going to drag them brothers if we got in this debate proving the African ancestry of Muhammad. So that's what this is. This really the debate material that I was going to put on that brother behind. You know, and from the same people, he say he honored, because he was dispute me up and down that Diop didn't say that Muhammad was, you know, related to the, you know, the dark-skinned people are coming from them. So here's another, the Prophet Muhammad's, and it says certain more peaceful mentions of contacts also exist. Muhammad's grandfather reputedly visited Aksum. Remember I told you about the Aksumites? That's the Ethiopian empire in the East Coast. You also have the Aksumites that are on the West Coast in Mauritania. But it says frequently on the business, Richard Pankhurst, while the first muezzin in Islam, Bilal, who had originated the role of calling the faithful to prayer, was a freed slave of Ethiopian origin. Bilal was also the bearer of the prophet's lands, according to the tradition given by an Ethiopian ruler to a companion of the prophet and in turn to Muhammad. You see what I'm saying? So I'm live right now, brother. I'm gonna call you back. Yes, sir. You should get on my live though if you see it. It's on my page. Okay, I'll give you a call as soon as I get off, brother. Peace and love. Islam. All right. So yeah. So this is another one, the archaeology of Islam in sub-Saharan Africa. This is really overkill, family. I done already proved my point. I went all the way back into ancient Arabia and showed you who the Cushites were. I brought it already up to the modern time. I gave you depictions that people have created, you know, of the Prophet Muhammad being of a dark hue, you know, and Ali, his al-Bayt, the family. You know, I'm showing you now this information from a lot of our scholars and different people. You know, let's read on because I'm almost done. As an infant, Muhammad was nursed by an Abyssinian woman and was later raised by his maternal grandfather, who had many business connections with Aksum. In addition, a freed slave of Abyssinian origins was one of the earliest converts to Islam and served as the faith's first muezzin, the person who calls the faithful to prayer. The most substantial connection came about as a result of Arab persecution of some Muhammad's followers, whom the prophet advised to flee to Aksum, a country where no one is wrong, a land of righteousness. That's what he told them when he told them to go there. Those refugees who were welcome in there and included in Muhammad's daughter, two of his future wives, in his form of wet nurse and his future successor. The king of Aksum treated the refugees with kindness and refused a large bribe offered by some Arabs to send them back to Mecca. When it was safe, the refugees returned to Arabia with such glowing accounts of their good treatment that upon hearing that the Abyssinian king had died, the prophet is said to have prayed for his soul and later ordered his followers to leave the Abyssinians in peace. The many words in the Quran that derive from the Abyssinian language are evidence of close connections between Mecca and Aksum, as is the fact that Muslims did indeed leave the Abyssinians in peace for the better part of the next millennium. This is by Northup D. and South 2017, 7 Myths of African World History, page 24. You know, so here's another measure dealing with the following justifies the claim that Baraka was Amina's blood relation. Baraka is addressed as Muhammad's aunt. Baraka is addressed at Muhammad's mother. Baraka is also addressed as my mother after my own mother and the rest of my family. Baraka called Muhammad her son. From the above exposition, 3 points are very clear that the one cannot miss them. Your mother's sister is your aunt. It says, number 2, in Africa, your mother's sister is also your mother. Yours, your sister's son is also your son. Number 3, Baraka was referred to as the rest of Prophet Muhammad's family because she was the only known and closest to his mother Amina that he knew. Rashid H., again, our African identity, page 103 through 4. Kedar. You know, there's some biblical background. Kedar was the second of Ishmael's 12 sons. The name itself gives us an immediate understanding of his racial identity. Smith's Bible Dictionary states that the name Kedar means dark skin, which clears up the misconception that he and his people were called by that name because they lived in black tents. That type of reasoning is an obvious attempt to obscure the true color of Kedar and his people. See, you got people trying to cover this history up. Why would Ishmael name his son at birth after the color of tents he would live in as an adult? That type of reason is absurd. Kedar developed a powerful Arabian tribe. They were skilled archers and were considered mighty men in the Bible. Isaiah 21, verse 17. Ezekiel 27:21 mentioned that Kedar were merchants of livestock and thus appear to have lived in a pastoral lifestyle. Assyrian documents reveal that the people of Kedar maintained close affiliation with the people of Nabajor, Ishmael's firstborn son. It was the Kedarites who were the main military powers of the sons of Ishmael. Kedar is also important to anyone who seeks to trace the racial identity of Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muhammad himself traces his ancestral descent from Kedar. And this is Evans C. Chapter 7, Ishmael's descendants in the black bloodlines of Abraham and the racial profiles of ancient Hebrews. Now, if you go back up here, you can see when it was talking about them being archers, you know, and being in war, you can see them being depicted right here. The Arabs. Remember, I was showing them to you. See, they got the going to war with the Assyrians here. They on the camel. Yeah, we can't make this stuff up. That's a close-up of what they look like. See that nose, that mouth, and them lips? Come on now. And if they was dark-skinned as well, come on now. So the historical Muhammad that has been suppressed by the Arabs, that I mentioned to you in here, as Abu Kabsha, you know, they calling them that are Qasim, you know, this is your Muhammad that's of this hue, and the Arabs have tried to write this out of history and replace it with a white Muhammad, going so far to saying if you call Muhammad a black man or a dark-skinned person, then you're supposed to be took off the count. Somebody's supposed to take your life. You know, and we know some Arabs real racist right now, Muslims. They still got something against dark-skinned Muslims, some of the Arabs. We know this to be a fact. Black skin and black skinned man, Kedar, son of Ishmael, Genesis 25:13, of Arabian tribe sprung from him. It gives all of the scriptures here. Like I say, I'm going to give you this PDF if you ask me for it. Tell me at egyptianadept@gmail.com. Those who live near the Ishmaelites, being demon worshippers, likely destroyed the Ishmaelites' ancestral way of life, the only norm by which ancient Hebrews lived before the Mosaic legislation, relying on unwritten customs. Those same demons, the Ishmaelites too doubtless reverenced, and they especially honored them and called upon them in a manner of the cult. They talking about pre-Islamic Arabia, of their neighbors, and so demonstrated the reason why they neglected their ancestral laws. The passage of a long time caused them to forget some and allow others to grow up antiquated. Afterwards, some of them became acquainted with the Jews and learned whence they had come, and they reverted back to their ancestry and took up the Hebrew customs and the law. From that time, many among them still lived in the Jewish fashion. So there was some that actually had returned back to this way of life, and some of them were called Sabians, and they were Mandaean Sabians. Sozomen, then writing in the southern Palestine no more than a century and a half before Muhammad, knew that the Arabs were Abrahamites. That was their brother tribe, and their ancestry, and many among them still live in the Jewish fashion. It is not the Hijaz, but it's very close. Muhammad and the Origins of Islam, page 121. Albany State University, New York Press. We have another one here. Dalianin or the Dean. Umawi meaning it's dominion of kings, system of uses, rites, ceremonies inherited from a series of ancestors. It is said a prophet, meaning he used or conformed with the old uses, obtaining among his people inherited from Abraham and Ishmael in respect of their pilgrimage and their marriage customs. It's saying that Muhammad took this custom from Abraham and Ishmael, the buying, the selling, and all this. It's an Arabic 1863 lexicon, Lane E, page 944, London Williams Norgate. Genesis 17:20, authorized King James Version. As for Ishmael, I have heard thee, this is God talking to Abraham. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. And see, I have a problem with our Israelite family, that want to take the word of God and honor the blessing that they receive, and they want to act like this blessing don't mean nothing. Because if they can do this, then they can hate the Ishmaelites and continue saying that's their enemy. But when Abraham passed form, Ishmael and Isaac both went to the funeral, and them brothers embraced each other. You understand? Our Hebrew family now ain't thinking on that particular level. And that ain't even a bang on them, because I got a discussion getting ready to come up, and I'm going to really be getting at them. And you'll see how I get at them then. You know what I mean? And I hope some of the people watching, just how you see me bringing all these sources up, I got some terrible sources, that's going to shake the whole foundation, of what's been going on when y'all see it. Now, let me hit this link right here. We already got our disclaimer up there.
It says here, the apostle said, show piety in dealing with the protected peoples. Those, why are we doing that? Okay, yeah, those of the settled lands. So this is Egypt. So show piety in dealing, with the Egyptians. The black, so back then the Egyptians were still black, Anyways, the black, the crinkly haired, for they have a noble ancestor and marriage ties with us. Okay, so they have a noble ancestor and we are also married with them. Okay.
Come on, Ishmael.
What did Umar said? Umar explained, by ancestry, the prophet referred to the fact that the prophet Ismail, his mother, came from them, and the marriage tie was contracted when the apostle took one of them as, it says concubine here, but I'm pretty sure it was his wife too. Anyways, Ismail.
So we see that, they was told, that the prophet was telling them that, they got a noble ancestor, through Ishmael's mother, and, this is the Egyptian bloodline. And so it's telling them why they should respect the Egyptians, show piety in dealing with them. He was paying homage to his ancestry. You know what I mean? So even though you got some people that don't want to obey that now, you got some Arabs trying to usurp the history of the Kemites. That's a whole nother measure. I told you I got blood of the Arab and, the Kemite in me as far as dealing with Sudan. The ancient mother that I have, 287,000 years old in my maternal aspect, it mentioned that. So I got 85% sub-Saharan West African DNA. But it says, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord have heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. I ain't gonna lie to you, family. All my life, I felt like, I was seen as a wild man, and my hand done had to be against every man hand done been against me. Since I've been a young seed, I felt that way. But if you look at me, just looking at my makeup, you see what a modern day expression of the DNA would look like, being that I descend straight through the line of Sudan and all that there and got that blood in me, along with the pictures I already showed you. So it says, of what race was Muhammad? We actually read this, and I knew I had that thing in here twice too. It says another important geographical point, which was made to me by Tasheli Tibebu of Temple University is that the Sahara Desert extends beyond the Red Sea into the Arabian Peninsula. They call that through the Horn of Africa over into, Yemen and all that. There's Shabah. The Arabian Desert is another name for the Eastern Sahara Desert. In short, the divide between the Arabian Peninsula and northeast part of continental Africa is an ideological divide and not a historical, cultural, or geographical divide. So really ain't no separation between the two. As stated earlier, South Arabia was invented to minimize the testimony of awesome stele or innumerable and priceless Ethiopian manuscripts or other valuable historical artifacts. So people actually change, create division lines just to try to separate a people from their culture. Historical artifacts such as coinage, pottery, dress statues, the historical and cultural achievements of an African people. It is a testimony that would have undermined the civilizing mission of the Europeans. So they had to lie and make these things separate in order. Come on, man. This is from Bakiri, Ethiopia, 1997, an African writing system, which we showed you the writing system above. Is history and principles. The original inhabitants of Arabia then, according to Sir Arthur Keith, one of the world's greatest living anthropologists, who has made a study of Arab skeletal remains, ancient and modern, were not familiar Arabs of our own time, but a very much darker people, a proto-Negro belt of mankind stretched across the ancient world from Africa to Malaya. This belt, by environmental and other evolutionary processes, became in parts transformed, giving rise to the Hamitic peoples of Africa, the Dravidian peoples in India, Hindu Kushites, and to an intermediate dark people inhabiting the Arabian Peninsula, ancient Kushites. In the course of time, two big migrations of fair-skinned people came from the north, one of them the Mongoloids, to break through and transform the dark belt of man beyond India, and the other Caucasoids to drive a wedge between India and Africa. Thomas B., 1937, The Arabs, page 355, London, Thornton, Butterworth. It says the theory of Ethiopian origin of civilization has been discussed by many scholars, both ancient and modern. The French historian Professor Charles Sainabos, in his scholarly history of ancient civilization, argued that the first civilized inhabitants of the Nile and Tigris-Euphrates valleys were dark-skinned people with short hair and prominent lips, and they were called Kushites, Ethiopians by some scholars and Hamites by others. Africa is generally recognized as the original home of the Ethiopian culture, but there have been students of ancient history who thought that the Asiatic Ethiopians possessed a better claim to priority than in the history of civilization. Jackson, 1970, Introduction to African Civilization, page 68 through 69, New York University. Here we have Africa as known to the ancients, and you can see the yellow portion here, all coming through here, all the way across here, going across. See, it says a Kibalon actually right there, pheasant. They're using some of the names the Moors use. So the Sudan is here where my ancestors come, the maternal DNA and the father. My ancient father, ancient mother, they were Sudan. But my DNA came straight across the Sahel into Senegal and Senegambia, and they was taken from the door, the door of no return to Car, Mauritania, basically. So I got Moorish DNA that comes straight up out the Sudan, and so a lot of the Moorish DNA also have Libyan history in it. But all this area is the same area that Prophet Noble Drew Ali named in the Moorish Holy Quran as being Moors. And that's true to this day. You see, so this yellow represent the people, even in Arabia. They represent the same people. So if you come down here in the bottom, they say yellow and they use the term Hamites and Semites. We know Hamite is just another name they tried to use biblically. But this is a map. And these are your Hamites and Semites in the yellow. So the original Semites would have been of the same hue of the Hamites. So that's the last one, family. I'm done with this presentation. Anybody that want this PDF, I most definitely send this to you, but we have proven to you that Muhammad is a descendant, of the Cushites. We have proven to you that his bloodline, came through that. I mean, come on, man. Anybody that try to go against all that information right there, bro, they just crazy. You feel me? But most people that got hatred in them and they got a dog in a particular fight, yeah, they're going to keep pushing the dumb narrative, even after you get them this history right here. You feel me? So, right. That's right. That's exactly what they do. They done came around now, a lot of them recently, and they honoring a lot of the stuff that we putting out here, because they ain't seen nothing yet. But I'm always show my sources, period. Point blank. I'm always show my sources, family. So we proven to you that again, Prophet Muhammad was, of pretty much Cushite ancestry. Hands down. You know what I mean? Y'all make sure y'all share this content. If you haven't already subscribed, so that we can get these numbers up and get this information out here to these people. The purpose of this information is to bridge the gaps, family, and also have our people stop slandering Islam because they believe that it was founded by white or pale Arabs. We done debunked it, all that just now. Even the doctrine and its teachings go back to Kemet. You feel me? I prove that. I prove the name Allah comes straight up out of Kemet. And a lot of words in the Quran have Cushite origins. So yeah, we can't miss it. We can't go against this. And I'm gonna do this right here just for a bonus. I'm gonna just go back into this PDF real quick. And I'm gonna run it down. I ain't gonna go through it and go over it. I'm gonna just show you, show the people that might be here that hadn't seen it. Just give them a brief recap, on this information. Again, our subject was Prophet Muhammad, the Saba-Kushite, Sabi'un Hunafa, and the al-Bayt of Sibghatullah. We went into all of that. We showed you the ancient Kushites of prehistoric Arabia. We showed you their language. We showed you what they look like, and they look way more than familiar. We gave you the history and the background of them. We translated the name Ishmael on this Ishmael stele that came from the Mormons. We showed you that. So that proved Ishmael exists according to that aspect. Well, at least he got some stele talking about it. This is another joint showing the more modern expressions, how they improve their artwork. And there's a lot of that in the Sabi'un culture. That's a Sabi'un relic with the alphabet on it and the alphabet beside it if you want to translate it. This is the alphabet in a wax mold, look like it, but it got the sister here. Told you she's a big body sister, but you can see her locks in her head. Look, crinkly hair. See a brother down here with that big nose and them big lips. You know what I mean? As they call them, blubber lips. Here's another brother. You can see his nappy hair. You can see that flat nose, them lips. That chin. We showed you the alphabet here as well. We showed you in Carthage. They had some of these same markings where the Moors went. Right there. In South Arabia, we showed you another mold, wax-like mold. Alabaster is what it is. It's not wax, it's alabaster. And you see the features right here on that one, riding the camel. We see a family here, a father, daughter, or maybe even that's a daughter. Then the mother. You can see the script up there. We showed you the brother that looked like James Earl Jones from Coming to America. Look at them features right there. You can't deny none of these features right here for these Kushites. One of the scholars of Islam, Abdul Malik Ibn al-Marwan, look at it being depicted on a coin. Look at them big lips, that big nose right there. Come on, man. Close up again of the Arabs with the locks in their head. We thought we was doing something with the locks. They've been doing way back then. Again, this is them going to war with the Assyrians on horseback, throwing karate right there I don't care what nobody say. They throwing karate over there. War. Yeah. So yeah, they were going to war. That's a close up of the same camera rider. Again, I showed that to you all. I showed you the sister, the Sabi'un sister. You know, just showing you she still got her a lighter hue, but come on, man. And then I showed you the Sabi'un way of praying. Muhammad got that from them, you know, and it was made a part of Islam. Then I showed you these two images depicting Muhammad. And the only reason I was tripping out this because they actually showed Muhammad's face. You know, even though this is a modern day production, you know, in art form, it's still somebody depicted Muhammad the right way. They depicted him as a Kushite. Even the Baruch that he riding to heaven, they depicted her with a dark hue too. You know, again, that's Muhammad. That's Ali, and that's Muhammad's grandson, and that's his wife. Ali's wife, which is Muhammad's daughter Fatima, being depicted as dark skinned. So yeah, like who gonna check that? How you gonna go against all that right there? You foolish if you do that. You know what I mean? I know what you've been taught. I know what they done told you throughout all these years, but I just showed you what the truth is. You know what I mean? So, like, it don't get no plainer than the truth, family. So let me do this real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and, like I said, shut this demonstration down. I got to call my brother back, you know, but I want to give honors to y'all. You know, we're gonna keep bringing the truth to you and keep getting that information to you. Don't forget to check in to some of our brother Kalam material at Titans TV, you know, because I spoke on the Sabians on his platform before. That demonstration is on here too as well. So praise be to Allah. Let me drop my email in here for those of you who want this. Let's see. Okay, that's my email right there, family. For those of you who want this Egyptian Adept, there it is. Egyptian Adept at gmail.com. So y'all email me and I get this to you. You see, and like I say, it's way more. I had more than this because I had more information on the historical Muhammad outside of the Quran, but I'll probably go into that another time. You know, I presented enough here. So there you go, family. And I want to say peace, love, and law at all costs. You already know we love you. We're going to keep bringing y'all this truth. No, it don't get no plainer than this truth. You see, we got to keep bringing y'all this truth. If I don't, then who will? You see? Out with my little trite debate coliseum. Give me a second here. Yeah, you got to listen to the lyrics in this, you know. Yeah, I had to get this one right here. This was a powerful demonstration. I'm saying a whole lot in here. Okay, here we go. Let's share the screen. And y'all enjoy this track as we close this demonstration out. It's called Who Wanna Test Me? You know. Let me make sure I'm sharing the sound. It don't make sense for me to put it up here if I can't share the sound. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, the sound is also shared. Okay, so we good.
True Mahafa, AGS Damari. Y'all know what time it is. Place your bets. Source up the shitter. Mahafa really be done. Debate Coliseum, you pseudo sidelines. Yeah, I got plenty motion. You blind, lead the blind. I'm in the HOK, sourced up and ready. I got the drop on every art. Yeah, who wanna test me? Debate Coliseum, you pseudo sideline. Yeah, I got plenty motion. You blind, lead the blind. I'm in the HOK, sourced up and ready. I got the drop on every art. Yeah, who wanna test? Stepping with a cane and top, had to match. A Lord of Ice, supreme ruler, that's right in his act. Double or nothing, 2 for 1. That's how I'm coming. Do the math and do the knowledge. I'm March 100. And I stay repping that 5. Who wanna see me live? Got a murder man vibe. Bodies in my archives. When I up my source, just up the score cause it's a rap. And I be that more. You don't remember he was cap caught blabber lacking in his babble. Ran down on him. The real driller from Manila. I stood over homie. I took his feds. He was fake and he was false flag. And I'm here to rep that right way. And I'ma keep standing. Behind my people I stand on business. Yeah, I'm crashing out. And if you cross my golden path, yeah, I'm flashing out. Got a bucket list of future bodies in my inventory. My peer reviews are undisputed. You can keep the glory. Every appeal to authorities just to cry for help. An intellectual cowards, they die 1,000 deaths. Who really want it with me? I stay war ready. Round for round, got 100 slides. Who wanna test me? Debate Coliseum, you pseudo sideline. Yeah, I got plenty motion. You blind, lead the blind. I'm in the HOK, sourced up and ready. I got the drop on every art. Yeah, who wanna test me? Debate Coliseum, you pseudo sideline. Yeah, I got plenty motion. You blind, lead the blind. I'm in the HOK, sourced up and ready. I got the drop on every art. Yeah, who wanna test me? Godfather green light, I'ma whack 'em all. It's time to clean up the platform and tax 'em all. Know it like you owe it, the elder sent me for it. Retaliation is a must and that canopus bogus. It's pseudo killer to kill when I'm in the battlefield. They say steel sharp and steel, my real isn't real. Yeah, this that simmer talk and I'm ready to drill. Train to go and fully equipped to break that Roman seal. Grinding the powder can get power to the masses. If it's smoke, then it's smoke, I'ma get axed. Tell them come with it. Done did it, we split it, they can all get it. I got 7 deadly venom, been sick with it. I can behead them in public and still get acquitted. I put in work on house niggas and tell them I hit them. I'm that runaway slave they wanna capture. I took the whip from his hand and punished master. He's just another widow son of a bastard. I wage war on infidels and call them Kafirs. It's I never give me that card in your chapter. Knowledge is power, test mine and I'ma smash it. Coliseum, you pseudo sideline. Yeah, I got plenty motion. You blind, lead the blind. I'm in the HOK, sourced up and ready. I got the drop on every art. Yeah, who wanna test me? Debate Coliseum, you pseudo sideline. Yeah, I got plenty motion. You blind, lead the blind. I'm in the HOK, sourced up and ready. I got the drop on every art. Yeah, who wanna test me?
Come on, man. Y'all gotta stop talking when I'm putting my sound effects on. I'm saying oh for a reason. You see that young champion, the future champ in the building, god damn it. He ain't afraid to pop up in this room, huh? He ain't afraid. Y'all playing yourself. That's right. Yeah, what you talk that talk.
My husband used to ejaculate prematurely until this.
My hubby is ejaculating so fast, and when he gets so anxious about it, it's starting to feel like a chore.
That used to be me and my husband before I discovered this treatment by him. Sex art.
Y'all see how disrespectful Rome is? That's crazy. That's insane. But anyway, this is a grand classic, like our brother Idris said. I'm finna hit my brother up. Peace and love, family. It's all love. Islamism without the schism. So y'all hit my inbox and I'm gonna get that PDF to you. Peace and love. We got to give y'all ammunition so when y'all watching, y'all can shoot it at them. That's right. Islam. Yeah. Sourced up and ready. That's right. I got the drop on every op. Yeah, who want to test me? That's right. They love that track too, Noble Brian. Islamism. Peace and love, family. See y'all later.